Well, welcome to our new podcast titled Rebalancing Ourselves and Our World. And the whole theme of this is about the importance for proper balance in the world. And I don't think people realize how out of whack it is and how drastically different we need to live in order to be able to not just survive on this planet, but really thrive and be happy. So I am really honored to have our guest with us today, Marie O'Neill. And she is, well, you introduce yourself, Marie, because you do personal counseling.
Well, I'm a life coach. I'm a life renewal coach. That
Uh-huh.
is primarily what I do. I work with people who have gone through some emotional upheaval and they have gotten a little bit of distance from that, whatever it is that traumatized them or whatever the emotional upheaval was, and they're ready to renew that part of their life.
Beautiful.
So I'm actually there as a coach, helping them to revitalize aspects of their life.
Something has gotten their life off balance, a trauma, something has kept them from being.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just life.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's nice to have a co-collaborator to help you renew that part.
Right.
Somebody who has maybe gone through what you've gone through, or who can be objective, and they're not family and they're not friends. So,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
a
no,
good
that's really
thing.
good because we are afraid to sometimes to show our vulnerability to family and friends because we're afraid they'll judge us.
Exactly.
But yeah, so and again, and you have kind of a little bit on the Buddhist philosophy.
Well, I do. I studied Buddhism and converted to Buddhism quite a few years ago. I, at this point, do not have a teacher that I am following. My teacher crossed.
Oh,
And so I still study. I mean, you never stop learning
hmm,
anyway. So I still study, I still practice, I still live my life with those tenets, because that's the one thing about Buddhism. It's not about, even though it's a religion, it's not about the religion, it's about how you live your life. And
hmm,
so you incorporate your value system, your how you go about your life, you incorporate the tenets of Buddhism
right.
into your life. It's simple things. And that's, of course, that goes with any of the other religions too. Do no
Hmm.
harm.
Yeah,
That's a basic
right.
one. So
Exactly. And that's what I love. I'm wanting to show is that there are common threads of sensibility and wisdom that go through pretty much all religions. And I always feel like that's where the truth lies. When everybody's kind of saying the same thing, the balance issue came up for me when I was researching my own book, Holy Spirit Rising, the Vital Return of Our Divine Mother for the Healing of Our Planet, where I was, as a mouthful, that's where
let's come
I
up with
was,
an acronym.
yeah, I was researching what happened to the Holy Spirit because there used to be a mother in the Godhead. And the more I researched that, and it wasn't just for Christianity, but it was for everybody because removing her and removing the feminine from God affects everything, how we relate to each other, how we relate to nature. And that's when I suddenly went, that's what's wrong right now because the planet's in real trouble. And it really requires a huge rebalancing. And that's when I came across, of course, the Buddhism aspect with the yin and yang symbol. That to me is like my favorite symbol, expressing what I'm trying to talk about.
Well, with Buddhism, I believe this wholeheartedly. We go through an ebb and a flow always with
Mhm.
life, and we're constantly evolving. You think about the universe, it's constantly expanding.
Yes.
And so and you think about this in Buddhism, but also in astrology, we look at cycles, and I am an astrologer. And these cycles are also an ebb and flow. It's the same thing, just different language.
Right.
With the Great Mother, I mean, you think of, okay, so let's look at the moon. We know about the full moon, the new moon, there's the first quarter moon, last quarter moon. Well, these are all phases of the moon, and the moon represents the mother. Well, years ago, actually, it wasn't, maybe it was a couple of years ago, I read an astrologer, Demetra George. He had this theory about the Great Mother that I definitely believe, and it goes with the cycles. You think about she used the example of the ocean, the waves on an ocean. It goes in and it comes out, goes in and comes out. Well, there's a particular phase that is called the balsamic phase, and that is the phase where the tide goes out and things go away. Well, she postulated that the Great Mother went away for about 5,000 years. It was, going inward. I mean, she didn't really go away, she just went inward. And so, this all began back when the patriarchy started to rise about 5,000 years ago. And somewhere around, her estimation was around the year 2000 was when the Great Mother came back. And if you notice, there's a rise, and there started to be a rise in the 60s. Well, actually, you could say the 40s, but it was just a little foreshadowing what happened in the 40s with the women going into the workforce.
It's starting to rise again.
It's starting to rise again, and it's rising new. Now, before that, the prior 5,000 years prior to the patriarchy, it was more of a matriarchal system. And now, and remember, we're dealing with the ebb and flow, the yin and yang. So
there's a lot of prophecies that this was actually supposed to happen.
Exactly.
So that she would rise. And that's even in Judaism, in the mystic Judaism, the Kabbalah, I saw this beautiful little documentary. It was like a no-budget documentary about the Shekinah rising again. And the Shekinah and the Holy Spirit are basically the same person, just different names. And they have that same philosophy that the world won't be healed until the Shekinah, the feminine, rises again. So
right. And you had right. And so you could say that we're right, she's rising, and she's been dormant, gathering wisdom, we've been shifting and all of this, but she's still here. She didn't really go away.
Right.
She was just
hidden and suppressed.
Just suppressed. And so now when she comes back, or she is back, but she's in that new phase.
Yeah, I think she's still rising. I don't think she's fully, but I think it's getting close.
In astrology, we're looking at the phases being about 5,000 years for each. So she was gone for 5,000 years. That's a phase. And now she's back. And when you're in a new phase, that's really, you don't know what you're going to be.
Right.
You're trying to heal and work through and the bottom line is, with this particular cycle that we're in, we really are to share power.
Yes.
One is not to be dominant over the other.
And I think that is where I'm getting at. And we just have different timelines to go. When I was doing the research with the Bible, like the time of Sarah, the prophetess, who was also the matriarch, started what feels like civilization. There was civilization way before her. And that was more of a matriarchy. So that was the transition period that Sarah was still trying to hold on to a matriarchy. And it was transitioning very quickly into patriarchy.
Yeah.
And so maybe when it was the matriarchy, there was an imbalance in that direction.
There would have been.
Yes. And so now the patriarchy was another imbalance. So the ideal is bringing the male and female into balance. So it's no
Right.
matriarchy, no patriarchy, but just just a oneness, a
Right.
partnership. A true partnership was what was meant for us to begin with.
Exactly. And we have to do this in order for us to evolve.
Yes, to understand we don't want this, we don't want that.
Right. It's both.
It's together. Yeah.
Mhm. It's together. And that is, that is the solution. And it's also the conundrum because you've got one side who have had power for 5,000 years and feel that they're being usurped, that they're losing their power, that they have no value.
Right. But
And then yeah.
in countries like in Norway, where there's more equality, the happiness factor is way higher for both genders. So equality, actually balance, brings health and joy.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that. They're afraid something's being taken from them.
Yeah. And we are in an infancy stage with this.
Right.
We have no frame of reference with this. We're having to feel our way to what is balance for each person and for society.
Right.
And we are working on collective consciousness. I mean, all of us are in one big consciousness. And so we move, we evolve as, consciousness, really.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Which that's what it gets deeper and deeper because nothing is outside of spirit. So even so we think that there's these polarities, we're all part of the whole.
Right.
And so it gets very complicated, but that's all the more reason for balance within this whole.
Absolutely. And so we have to unlearn some things that we learn, and we have to have compassion.
Yes.
For ourselves and for others.
Known for the compassion element.
Compassion is so important. And I believe, and I know in Buddhism, the belief is each individual has to work on their own shadow.
Yes. It has to start within ourselves to affect the rest of the world. Right.
Because if you work on your own shadow, that means that, and you heal something, that means that your light gets brighter and it affects the entire consciousness of all of us. Because we are truly only one.
Right. Right.
Manifesting in all these different.
Right. It's like it's confusing to people, but we have our individual expressions and it's really powerful and important. But we really are all part of one whole. And it really makes us look at our brothers and sisters differently if we realize we're that connected.
Right.
And the compassion comes much more easily if we realize we're that connected. So whatever we do to the next guy affects us anyways, because we are the next guy too.
Exactly. And I believe that's the whole point of our incarnation anyway, is to realize that we're only one. So we have to go, we incarnate over and over again, getting further and further away, or thinking we are, from the fact that we are one. We try to separate. And then at some point we make the decision of, oh my goodness, this isn't working. So we start working our way back through many incarnations.
Right.
And you get back and you realize, I never went anywhere. I'm right here. I'm still within the confines of the divine.
Right.
Because you are the divine. You're a spark of that.
And the divine is pure love.
Right. It's love.
You can even comprehend. It's
absolutely.
So and so that's what we need to be finding our way back to, is that
right. Exactly. And in Buddhism, if you look at the masculine and the feminine, and you look at yin and yang, male and female, you're looking at an energy, an energy. And so you're a female, you incarnated as a female, however, you do have a masculine part.
Right. Yeah,
within you.
It's right. The color is the black with the white inside, and it's got a beautiful S shape dividing it, not a harsh line. which
Right.
shows a dance between the two.
And there's no hard lines.
Right.
It melds. One
Mhm.
melds into the other.
Right. It's beautiful. And
And that's, yeah.
and they're meant to, I believe, support each other. And to me, again, it looks like a dance between the two of them, a
Mhm.
supportive companionship. And if we understood that, the companionship level here on, because we're all of us want something. We want to be understood. We want to be loved. We want to be able to love. And all that is much more easy in an equal relationship. Whereas a lot of the guys who feel like they need to have this control,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't have love when somebody fears you. You don't have what you really desire until you have equality, I think.
Right. This
the
is
two part-
true. This is true. And I have tremendous hope that we will all get there because we have to.
I agree.
And we will. And
Mhm.
that's where, because if so, you take somebody who has been trained a certain way and then you ask them to shift.
Mhm.
It's not easy.
No, no. And a lot of people, even they're afraid they're doing something sacrilegious. For example, when I first had my insights with what I discovered in Christianity, I feared because I had the traditional viewpoint. I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything that was bad. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
people who are raised a certain way feel like that's the right way, and they don't want to go against what they've been taught.
Right.
So there's a sincere concern. And that's why a lot of people don't open up to something that's right in front of them.
Each
Yeah,
person has their own journey
right, right.
and they have their own karma
Mhm.
that they have to work through. And I
Right.
do believe that we encounter who we need to encounter when we need to encounter them, or the events that we need to encounter to help us shift. And we do. The thing is,
But we do have free choice too.
we definitely have free choice.
Yes.
We have free will and we also have faith. Both are working.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yes, that's true. And I keep forgetting the name. I'm so bad. Vic,
Techno,
there we go. He actually says that with sincere prayer and sincere shift in your consciousness, you actually can shift karma and fate. Not entirely. You still have to live it. You still have everything that was put in your way, but you still have free choice. And with complete recognition of why your karma is what it is, you can at least shift it.
you shift how you see it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
You shift how you see it. And that means that you don't suffer.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that pain doesn't appear,
Yes.
but you know why you're going through something.
Mhm.
And you do your best to make decisions that are the highest level decisions when you're faced with obstacles or challenges and that sort of thing, so that you can move through it and you
And not
don't
harm others in the process,
right.
because that just creates more bad karma.
And yeah, and that's why we keep incarnating. It's like we keep creating karma is action, really.
Uh-huh.
It's our actions. And we also have merit.
Mhm.
And merit is good karma. It's
Right.
You do something good, but you have to do it for the right reasons. I mean, you can't do it
Yeah, you
to
can't do it good just because you want a good point in your direction.
right.
I need some good points right now, so I can do this nice thing. No, it has to really be sincere.
Right. It
And
has to be authentic
yeah,
and no. And here's the thing, as humans, so many of us have expectations.
mhm,
And the one thing about Buddhism is it tells you to have absolutely no expectations for outcome. None.
okay, yeah,
Because you don't know what the big picture is. None of us do.
right. So that those are great words of wisdom. Don't stay locked into a set expectation. open yourself up to the magic that could happen. So thank you again, Marie. I really appreciate you.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
Talk
Bye-bye.
to you later. Bye.
Bye.
So before we close this entirely, I just wanted to give a couple little minor tips of how to start at least integrating the feminine and masculine more in partnership. And that is number one, to become more conscious of it, become more conscious what happened to the divine feminine, and start bringing her back in partnership with the divine masculine. And we can do that in our prayers, for example, or in our meditations. Some people don't pray and they meditate. I pray and meditate. I need both of them very much. When I pray, I feel like a very direct line with the divine. And there was a prayer that's really, popular, and that is the Lord's Prayer. And we had Neil Douglas Klotz translate that prayer much more accurately from Aramaic. And Aramaic is a very fluid language, so it can have just varying types of meaning, but always in the same ballpark. And his very first translation of the opening of the Lord's Prayer is actually, O birther, Father, Mother of the Cosmos. O birther, Father, Mother of the Cosmos. And that just moves me to the core, and it makes me incredibly sad that growing up, I didn't have that. Wouldn't it have been so lovely if we had our father and mother present in our prayers, in our consciousness, as little kids already, and how different the whole world would have been. So much more loving, and there would have been automatically, like I said, a bigger partnership created for us. So this is the time to start integrating it now. It will be worse off, another 50, 100 years from now, if we don't have that. Let's bring it in now for our children and for ourselves. And that's the place to start, just by bringing them into our presence, into our consciousness. So thank you so much. Until next time.